All right.
Oh, boy.
All right. Are we ready to go?
Yeah.
All right. You make sure you project.
Sure, get it all out.
Get it all out. All right. Welcome back to Two Homers and a Realist. This is the midweek pod leading into the West Virginia game, West Virginia preview. We are sitting here at the back third of the season, hoping that OU can get 1 out of 3, thinking very strongly on my part that we can get 1 out of 3 and get bowl eligible, but it starts with West Virginia. So I'm Steve.
I'm Connor.
Lucas.
And Jay can't join us tonight. Jay is going. We wanted him to be remote, but he couldn't even be remote for us. He
Got some voice issues.
Off doing his own thing with his voice. He's got a voice issue. He's got a voice coach. He's working on it. He's gargling salt water, the whole bit. But we're here. We're going to be relating some Jay comments that he sent, and we'll talk about all the good stuff that we normally do. So let's start it off by talking about where we are as a team here in the back third of the season. We've learned a few things this week. Not that this was necessarily information we didn't know. That is that our defense isn't very good and hasn't been very good for a while. But we learned some things, some specifics from some insiders about exactly what our defense over the years recently has been doing, or should I say not doing. And it explains a little bit just how far behind the curve we are and behind where we'd like to be as a team, especially on defense. We are hearing things like the fact that they didn't watch a lot of film on their own, didn't make a lot of Sundays, if any, to come in and review what they had done in preparation for teams for the games ahead. Didn't do anything on their own. So any extracurricular, they didn't do it unless they were specifically asked to do it. And didn't, under Grinch at least specifically, didn't look at any opposing team and look at specific preparation for those teams.
Yeah, they didn't scout.
They didn't scout. In fact, they also called about the same defensive call 50% of the time regardless of who the team was, which, of course, when we look back at the results, makes a lot of sense. That it was if you were just flipping a coin or rolling one of those die from Dungeons and Dragons or something, and it had multi-sides on it, and maybe not too many, maybe not many more than 6, to say, well, this is the play call that we're going to do. We're running number 7, and you guys go out and do it, regardless of the down and distance and the opponent that they're under. So what do you guys think about those revelations, and were they too surprising to you?
I mean, I think it's good to be validated. We've said a lot of we've assumed a lot of what we heard over this past week. I think from that post, like you mentioned, Steve, the striking paragraph was, for me at least, the old staff didn't prep players for a particular opponent. In other words, believe it or not, the players did not have a scouting report for other teams. Grinch's mantra was always, we do what we do regardless. And the fact that and to round off that whole post was, the players being more upset with themselves as opposed to the coaches there now or the staff now, because they're making mistakes that they shouldn't be making, just shows you and tells you how much that staff before us has stunted the growth of potentially really good players. A player like Danny Stutzman, or even we've seen Deshaun White come along in certain ways throughout this season, who you look at the guy, he should be a great linebacker, should be a top-notch linebacker, and he's the one who admitted after the Texas game, they go back and look at film, and it's, 12 to 14 little things that they miss. So, I mean, it's just stuff like that. So it's good to be validated. I can't say I'm shocked, but it's frustrating to say the least that it's harder to untrain someone who's been trained a certain way than it is to build from the ground up with these new guys that are coming in. I think that's what's most upsetting.
I mean, we all kind of thought some of this was going on with as many draft picks as we had on the defensive side of the ball last season, going to the NFL.
And multiple seasons going backwards.
And, and previous seasons, the Kenneth Murrays of the world and stuff like that, that we do have NFL quality talent, but they weren't showing up on the college field a lot because the coaching was so bad. And it's going to take time to get a lot of that straightened out. It's still, you can't be satisfied and say, this is the first season with the whole new staff coming in. There was also a blurb about 62 62 sheets of play calls for this last game, I think was what I saw. That seems ridiculous
for a
to me.
single opponent.
For a single opponent, 62.
Yeah.
That
So
sounds
that wasn't
entirely too much.
a different post that was talking about the existing staff and relating to what they had seen just for this prior game, that defensively they were looking at 62 pages. Now, we don't know a lot of context associated with that.
Right.
I wanted to comment on that, but first, back to the prior regimes really, and how they didn't prepare players. There's a couple things that you're up against that make that really difficult for the Venables staff and everything trying to what you're trying to accomplish now going forward. One is they haven't had good instruction. The other is their work ethic is probably eroded a lot because they're not used to being asked to come in on Sundays. They're not used to being asked to study things and prepare for specific opponents and engage their brains and change their mindset between one game to another and say, let's go learn this new thing that we're going to do that's very specific to who we're playing. It makes a lot of sense that we'd go up against a team like Army that runs a very unique offense compared to what most opponents play, and we struggled tremendously against that. And Army doesn't have that great a talent. We should be able to line up with really good defensive talent
that's America's Finest
and
you're
stop
talking about.
them. I'm not sure. I'm kind of a Navy guy. But we struggled mightily, and more so than almost any other team that they faced, even though they had a good season that year. We couldn't stop them because it's like we didn't even know how to prepare specifically for the run. So I think that in a little bit of respect and deference to the current staff and the difficulties they've had to endure, I'm sure they didn't realize coming into it that they were dealing with a situation like they are, where these players just have had no preparation, no work ethic, no history of going through those motions and preparing specifically for different opponents, as well as looking at complex new plays and learning new wrinkles. So, to the 62 pages, we don't know what that looks like. That I don't want to be too apologetic. I don't know anything about it specifically. On the surface, it does sound like that's a lot to take in. That sounds like it's too much. I'm more of a keep it simple. I think less is more, and most of the time people get into mistakes when they overthink things. But those 62 pages might be 5 or 6 pages for each specific play
coverage.
call.
Exactly.
Here's different versions of it, or here's different positions you're going to be in. So it's here's where you are at before the snap. Here's where you are upon the snap. Turn the page again. Here's where you are when the players do this. So it may not be as complex as that sounds. I don't know.
Right.
But we did complain when Venables was here the first time about the defense was too complex for the athlete. Even not just saying the athletes we had, it's literally just too complex for somebody outside of a crazy brained person like Brent Venables or somebody that
that was
like I don't like math, so you can't force a bunch of equations on me and I'm going to understand it, but I can understand plenty of other situations and other subjects in life compared to math, let's say. And those guys, even if you got one genius out of the whole starting 11, that doesn't do you any good when it comes to playing on the field.
And so I don't think Clemson was exactly recruiting rocket scientists. So maybe he learned something in that process, because we definitely did criticize a lot of when we would have players on the sidelines looking to the sidelines with their arms up at the last couple of years of Brent Venables saying, what are you asking me to do? I don't know the play, etc. So maybe he learned something and he learned how to dial it down, or maybe it takes a specific type of player. But I tend to think I'm going to give Brent Venables a lot of respect here and assume that he knows what he's doing, and top to bottom, from recruiting the right kind of player to instructing any type of player and instituting a good defense.
I mean,
I will say
if 4 years down the road we're still
consider.
talking about this,
then it's
as
a big
issue,
problem.
Then I mean, we shouldn't be in this. There should be a change.
Obviously, but that's a far afield from where we are today. And again, we do have. I take a lot of comfort in the fact that we've got the experience at Clemson that was so good, such good defenses,
pretty quickly,
and sustained.
And it was consistent. Yep.
Yeah.
over multiple regimes, and yeah,
But
they played in the
a bad
ACC,
conference, yeah.
bad conference, but they still played good non-conference. They definitely
The
played
playoff.
and did great in the playoffs
Yeah.
They won national championships.
repeatedly, and they were going up against the creme de la creme. So I've got to give a lot of credit to that, as well as I'm going to give them
Leeway.
the benefit of the doubt for a long time. But we'll see. Obviously, we'll see as things develop. It is something that every coach, probably a great mind, has to wrestle with, and Lincoln Riley on the offensive side of the ball probably has to wrestle with it too. You can only do so much about what you see versus what that player's capable of, especially when you're dealing with someone who's a very young, inexperienced player.
Well, even Jeff Lebby with Dylan Gabriel right now.
Right. Yeah.
You can only deal with as much as what Gabriel can take in and produce. And it, kind of to what we talked about on the post game, I don't know if what Lebby thought he was getting is what he's getting on the field right now. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I as a fan certainly, for the most part, from an overall holistic view of what we've gotten this season, Gabriel's probably on par, but probably a little bit below what I expected, given the hype that Lebby gave him and other people on the staff gave him coming into this role. So
and I don't know.
It's still shocking to me the Sunday thing. The players at this level of college football are all thinking about the next level. I mean, you rarely get a guy other than walk-ons and maybe some guys that really didn't get recruited very many places, but somehow end up on a Power 5 program like OU that aren't thinking about going to the next level. I mean, you've got your exceptions that just don't have the measurables, and they probably know, yeah, I can probably get on the field in college. I'm never going to see the pros, but I would venture to say, 95% of your starters are planning on making the pros in some form or another, even if it's XFL or whatever.
Or even if they have their heads in the clouds.
Right.
They think they're
Yeah, exactly. And you're going to tell me that you're not willing to put the effort, even as a freshman or a sophomore, when you still have a couple years out, that you're not going to put the effort in to go in for 2 hours on a Sunday on your off time when you're not supposed to be there and just rewatch the game, because they clip all this stuff up. So they could literally sit down, or hell, they could probably get on their iPad at their dorm or apartment and just watch the game clips that's been sent out to them and just see all the plays that they were involved with, let's say, and they can probably just do the telestrator on it, and see where they were supposed to be or if they were in the right spot. And I mean, I have a job that I'm in charge of my own business, and I work 7 days a week unless I'm going out of town for an OU game. I'm literally, even if I only work 2 hours on a Sunday, or I work an hour and a half on a Saturday a lot of times, I'm still getting up going to work, and I'm not trying to get to the next level, let's say. I don't understand how these guys can't be thinking about that.
Well, I'm going to give it more of a break, I think, than you are on that, because, one, you're someone in their 40s who acts like they're in their 60s, who is talking about a job who actually, that job, when you're saying you go in and work, you get paid for that work, or you don't work, you don't get paid. And you know the connection between that. These are young people. These are young guys, which makes it even worse.
Yeah, but they're looking to get paid in the future.
They are.
And them going in for 2 hours on a Sunday makes them better.
That's just human nature, though. They don't know. They don't know. They need that guidance. They don't know what they need to do to get to the next level. And if they've got coaches they respect, and they obviously respect them a lot, not telling them they have to do this, they're going to assume they don't have to do it. It's
I don't
human
think they're
nature.
allowed. They're not allowed to tell them to. They have to have a full.
They can give them the recommendation.
Well,
that wasn't being done.
They can say, "Hey, how do we know they didn't say, hey, we're not allowed to make you come in on Sunday, but
that was
it's going to benefit the whole team if you come in and watch 2 hours of film."
Whether or not they're made to do it or not, the post that we read alluded to the idea that they were not made to do it. So these guys at Alabama, or now at OU, or anywhere else, who are or are not being made to do it, they know they don't have to go through summer workouts, wink, wink. Yeah, they know what they have to do. So I think they weren't being told, you need to do this, and they were thinking, if I'm not being told I have to do it, I'm not doing it. And that's just human nature.
It kind of sucks that we only had Jalen Hurts for a year, because that's the kind of guy that would come in and kind of jump everybody's ass and say, hey, at Bama, we did all of this on our off time, and I'm coming over here, and this is a completely lax, They talked about him going to work out after games because our workouts were so pathetic during the week or whatever. that maybe film watching was a part of that.
Well,
and look what he's done.
Yeah.
With a
he's
year
doing
under his belt in the NFL. Yeah,
that's a great point, and it brings up a lot of questions I would love to have answered.
Yeah.
I would love to have Jalen Hurts here to say, what did you see when you were here? Can you validate this? Can you tell me where it's true or not true? And compare the offense to the defense as well as the Alabama to the Oklahoma experience. Maybe the offensive experience was completely different than the defensive experience, either because Lincoln Riley took a hands-on approach to that and he told them he wanted them to prepare this way, and he let hands off. He let his defensive guys do their defensive thing. I don't know. We do know that at least in Kyler's case, and I'm sure in the other cases, they had a very close relationship quarterback to the offensive line. They seem like a real cohesive unit. They seem to get the connection. I wouldn't be surprised at all if those offensive linemen were, as well as the rest of the offensive unit, doing a lot of work on a Sunday and other days of the week when they didn't have to of their own volition.
Well, we got excited with the Dylan Gabriel stuff this offseason because we saw all the social media stuff of they went to the lake and bonded. And,
right.
Right. They were working out on their off time. Obviously, at this level, everybody's doing 7-on-7, or not 7, but just the offense is getting together with 3 wide receivers and the quarterback, and they're throwing the ball and running different routes and stuff like that to get comfortable in the off time. But defensively, is there any type of situation that they can do that?
Right.
That's something I've never really considered. You always hear about.
You can go throw the ball around.
Yeah,
but
you hear about Rattler throwing to Hazelwood when they first get on campus.
But even look at the defense.
What can you really do?
If you guys
get together with the offense and have them run against you.
If you guys had to say right now, who is the quarterback of the defense? Who's the leader of this defense?
Maybe Billy Bowman. I don't know.
And Billy is just, and he's been hurt, and it seems more of a reserve guy. Yeah. I think Deshaun White wants to be that guy. I don't think he's the guy who for that position. Like, I don't know if we have this guy on defense. We don't have a Travis Lewis or a Roy Williams or someone like that who is just like, hey,
Calmus Lehman,
like these guys who are just like,
it's
hey,
usually
I'm
a middle
dude.
linebacker or something.
Right.
And
you expect that.
Well, who
or
is
an end or something.
Completely forgetting his name.
Guebu?
No, last year's linebacker.
Benito?
No, who is on the Soul Mission? Who works for the
Caleb Kelly.
Caleb Kelly, yeah. So there's another example of a guy who's like that. And even if they are on staff doing it, it's not the same as a player.
Right.
It's just it can't be the same, by rules.
And I mean, you want someone like a Danny Stutzman to be that guy, but I think maybe on the other side of it, maybe they're so busy trying to just learn the plays and learn the defense of what they're supposed to be doing, they don't have time to go out and be an extracurricular leader.
I don't know. They got time to be on multiple podcasts every week, between the Strengthening Oklahoma pod or the Podcast on the Prairie. I mean, they've been doing guest spots and all those things.
Yeah, but those are low. Those are fun things, and they're lower energy.
I mean, it takes 20 minutes. I know.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be old guy yelling about the kids not ever working,
but you're actually telling them something that's for their own good and for their own future.
Right.
And that's something that has to be instilled, and it's a culture change. Culture changes are tough. They're tough anywhere. They're tough in an organization like a sports team. They're tough in an organization like a business. It is really tough to change a culture, and it starts to, especially if it's one that is leaning on the human nature and the tendencies that we all have that are lazy or that are to the easy way out. It's hard to get that rust off. It's hard to get it back to being a well-oiled machine that is really working towards success. That's tough. To build success and build excellence, that is difficult. You've got to work really hard and continually work on that. It's real easy to let chaos take over.
Well, and it's a nominal thing, but do you guys think that, something as simple as not having consistent team captains week in and week out plays a role in some of these players trying to find their identity as where they stand within the ranks of the team?
I mean, I think calling him a captain, letting him go to a coin toss that's not a factor.
No, but I don't think. But I think there's a lot more that comes with the captain. There's a certain approach that the captains each week take when it comes to leading warm-ups and leading stretches and just being this consistent, hey, I'm the guy. I'm the guy who's going to be doing this day in, day out for you guys. You guys can look to me.
The accountability is different.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it's not just a coin toss. It's a lot more than that in my mind. And to be considered a captain should be kind of a...
Oh, I think that's a great point, because week in and week out, you're thinking, well, I'm the captain, and I'm going to... I've got some responsibilities here, and I'm going to help lead this group. But at the end of the week, you're no longer the captain. Yeah. So your responsibility ends.
It's a participation trophy.
It is. It really is. And so you get to a point very quickly where you think, one, I don't have a lot of responsibility that carries over. So I'm not going to go out there and work my fellow teammate really hard,
right,
and maybe alienate them for a job I'm not going to have for another 2 days. And at the same time, you don't have that time to build up equity that you can use. Yep. And so when a captain in week 6 comes to you and says, you need to work harder, you need to do this, and he's been the captain from day one, he's built up 6+ weeks, I mean, that's just 6 weeks in the season, much less the fall camp, of being the guy who is the leader of the team. And you look up and respect them versus somebody who, honestly, they could look up and say, you're the captain right now. I was the captain last week.
Yeah.
He'll be the captain next week. Shut up and get out of my face.
Yep.
So I think there probably is a downside to that maybe was overlooked by the coaching staff, actually, in terms of how important a captain might be. And this team is going to be sensitive to all of those things. They're going to need every bit of help they can get because they have such deficiencies and weaknesses. Right. It's not as big a deal when you, let's say, fast forward 3 years into the future, and we've got a lot of success under our belt, a lot of really great talent. We got a lot of things going in the right direction, call it momentum. That is a different situation where you're not as sensitive to it, and you don't lean on a captain and other key features to help guide you and get you to where you need to be. So I think it's a pretty significant thing. I think that's good. I hadn't thought about that at all. That's a good point.
Yep.
Well, let's transition a little bit and just talk about the upcoming game. And before we get to our specific outlook and predictions, let's talk about what players we think could be difference makers in this upcoming game, both offensively and defensively. Who are the guys we're looking to provide some key work to get us in a position to win? Who wants to start us off?
I'm going to say defensively, I really hope Billy Bowen is back to as close to 100% as he can be and sees the field for the majority of the game, because when he's in, that's the biggest difference in the team. I think he is the quarterback of the defense, even though he's only a sophomore. Mm-hmm. I think the guys look up to him because he seems to be the guy that has figured out what he's supposed to be doing and where he's supposed to be.
He's in the right spots.
And can maybe get the other guys lined up and, let them know when a play's starting. He may be yelling out, what the formation, where it's headed or something like that, because when he's been out, we've been horrible. And I mean, mm-hmm. it's just a fact. Horrible. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then, last week, I don't know the snap count, but it couldn't have been very high, I don't feel like, because when I was watching, I just didn't notice him out there as much as I have in the past, and we suffered for it. So. And
when he's in there, though, he gets an interception.
Yeah.
Because he's in the right place.
Yep.
Actually, he was out of place in that one.
He was out of place.
Yeah.
But ball kind of literally fell into his hands.
But maybe he's being disruptive. I don't know. But right. Give him the credit for getting the interception for sure and making the catch. It wasn't an easy catch to make. I would agree. I think that's a key player for sure. I'd look for him to be a leader in ways we probably can't appreciate and notice. Connor, who you got on defense?
I think defensively, he's been quiet since week 2. I want to see Reggie Grimes go do something, man. I want to see Reggie Grimes in the backfield or even on the edges with the run game, and whether it be him, if I had to cheat and choose a second, it'd be the other end. It'd be Ethan Downs, because that position has been so disappointing this year with what we saw at the beginning of the season and the just disruption that both of those guys, especially Grimes, caused in the backfield. Really just want to see some pressure this week, and I think that can start and end with both of those guys, but especially Grimes and his versatility and where we've seen what he's capable of. I think if he can deliver that on a consistent level, we should be. It'll set a tone. So I got Grimes as my defensive difference maker this week.
I liked all of those choices, and I actually flirted with both Grimes and Bowman. I thought also just pick a name out of a hat on defensive line.
Right.
I would like to see some performance there. That might be the key difference if we can get, as a unit, that unit to play really well. If I'm going to cheat and take a whole unit on this question, or if we have to select a player, it could be any of them. If one of them will step up and do a job really, really well, then that could be a difference maker at the point of attack there on the line of scrimmage. But I'm actually going to take a different player altogether. I'm going to say Deshaun White. I want to see Deshaun White be consistent. I want to see us not look down and shake our heads, Deshaun White. I want us to be there either just not even noticing because he's just doing his job, or noticing really good play and noticing him doing an effective job that is a key difference maker. So either of those would be great. I do think that as we played as a defense, good and bad, we've noticed him in good and bad ways, and that tells me that that's an important position. Obviously, he gets a lot of action, at least towards the ball, if not actually contributing to the tackle. So that's going to be my pick, to who I'd like to see be a difference maker, just doing his job real consistently, which he has been doing better and better. I'll give him credit for that.
Yes, he has.
Offensively, boy, I can go a lot of different ways with this. Again, if I were going to choose a unit, not the question exactly,
you
but
can't do that.
I would say the receiving core, the team. I
Pick
want
a
to see
player.
him. I want to see him do a better job. If it has to be a player on receiver, I'd like to see Mims be just consistent and a threat. I'd like to see them be able to find him in open situations and him catch the ball and get yards after catch as well. I'd like to see, and so to cheat to talk about a different player, maybe one of yours, I'd like to see Dylan Gabriel do a lot more effectively. Obviously, I don't want to see multiple turnovers. He's had a couple games with multiple turnovers. One time it was fumbles, the other time it was interceptions. So I'd like to see just consistent play out of him. But I've cheated enough on this question. Who do you guys got on offense?
I flirted with Gabriel as well, just from a consistency standpoint. But if I have to boil it down to a single player, I'm going to say Theo Weiss. Again, going back to that wide receiver core, such just a quiet year for the guy. And when he's made plays, they've been decent. But I mean, last week, one catch for 4 yards. He's a better receiver than that. And I'm not
unfortunate. He is a better receiver.
I don't know if it's the routes we're putting him in or just the scheme in general where he's just not involved. But the guy he's physical, he's big, and he makes plays after he makes catches, and we need a lot more of that from that group. So I'd like to see Theo Weiss get the ball in his hands and see what he can do, maybe over some mid-long routes, but we'll see. I'd love to see him kind of break out in this game to complement Mims.
I'm going to say Barnes. I think we know what Eric Gray's going to do. He's probably going to have 12 carries for 100 yards or something good like that, because he's been tearing it up lately.
And 5 catches for another 50 yards
right.
or something.
But change of pace-wise, I don't think Marcus Major's the answer. We thought early in the season he was. The last couple games coming back from his injury, he looks tentative. He doesn't look powerful. And Barnes,
I hear he's injured.
Barnes is that guy.
Everyone keeps talking about how he's injured after every play. So
Barnes is that guy. If he's come back from his hamstring.
Did Barnes see the field last week? He didn't, did he?
No.
Yeah. So he's 2 weeks. He's 2 weeks.
He's missed.
No, he's 3 weeks because he got the bye week. Got the bye in
weeks.
2 games. So it's 3 weeks.
I think not just him, but the change of pace in running styles between switching it up between Eric Gray,
a little more
and
speed, a little more
Barnes.
power.
Yeah,
that would be good to see.
I like to see him make an impact, even if it's 5 carries for 40 yards. That's more than we've been getting out of the backup running back with Major the last couple games.
Right.
Yep.
Well, Jay texted in. He said the deep snapper and the backup water boy. I don't know what exactly he's looking at. Why that's so crucial.
Sounds like someone who didn't go to the games.
He said it was real crucial, but yeah, I think it's obviously coming from someone who
Hydration
doesn't
is very
attend a
crucial.
lot of games. Yeah, yeah, that's true. Hydration is important, especially up there in a mountain man territory where at elevation you're going to need as much water as you can get your hands on. Well, let's get into some specific on the OU outlook, starting with this game, and then we'll fold it into what we see going forward for the rest of the the season a little bit, and then we'll talk about locks of the week. So let me ask you this question. On a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being crucially important, 1 being not very important at all, where is this game in terms of how important it is to get the win?
I would say a 4. I don't think you want to go to Bedlam with still 1 game under bowl eligibility, potentially get beaten Bedlam, and then have to go into Lubbock and
have to win
to become bowl eligible. So I'd say 4 because you still have 2 games after to become bowl eligible, but those games are toss-ups after losing this one if we lose it. So still massively important to check that box and move forward accordingly.
I agree completely with all of that.
I agree with it too. I really saw it that way too. If they were a bit easier of an opponent, which I don't think they're a very good team, they're kind of competing for the bottom of the conference, but if this were a Kansas of 3 or 4 years ago, then I think it might become a 5 where you just can't lose this game. Obviously, if we were in contention for something notable, then you would maybe rate it a 5 from that perspective. But we don't have either of those things that we're dealing with. At the same time, it is an important game. It's an important win for those reasons. You start to become concerned about where you are mentally. If you don't win this game, you lose a little bit of that probably team spirit, morale, and that can be devastating. And shoot, if you want to come up with a formula for how you lose all of 3 games that are definitely each one of them winnable in their own way, it would start with losing the first one to a team that's probably the weakest of the 3 teams that you're going to play, even though it is on the road where you get one of those 3 games at home. So I tend to agree. Well, let's talk about predictions then. So I specifically am predicting a score where we're going to win 42-41.
Wow.
Excuse me, 21.
Okay.
42-21. Not a game from
I knew that wasn't the
multiple
homer
years
in you.
ago. No. I think we're going to double up their score, and I think the defense is going to look better. I don't think they'll necessarily look great, but I just don't think West Virginia has got that much to offer. I will say I think it's a highly sensitive score on both sides just because of the nature of the teams and where they are. It wouldn't surprise me. The variance I'd put around this is pretty strong, but I'm going to say 42-21. Let me tell you Jay's before you guys rattle off yours. Jay is 34-31.
Whew.
Very tight game, 3-point game. It comes down to a field goal. He didn't say if Schmidt hits a field goal late in the game and that wins it or what.
But he has OU winning.
He has OU winning, 34-31. So, Connor, why don't you go first?
I've got OU 45, West Virginia 31. And I don't know if it's that close, to be honest with you. I think there may be a late score by the Mountaineers to get to that score. But I have us comfortably winning 45-31.
Lucas, what do you got?
I have 35-28, and that was a score I had in my head, and I had not decided which team I was going to have win until I saw the uniforms break out that we're going to wear the white Rough Riders, which
Really?
we are 9-0 in those uniforms overall,
Okay. Right.
or in those jerseys, we're 9-0.
Right.
In the full uniform, crimson helmet, white shirt, crimson pants, we are 3-0.
Really?
So that put me over the top to go, because I debated 35-28 West Virginia.
Right. You knew the score was right.
I knew the score. I just
As an oracle.
right.
From the stars, you could see that the numbers were a 3-5
Yes.
and a 2-8.
Yeah.
You just didn't know which was in front of
Definitely
the other
wasn't
one.
82-53. So
Okay.
I was,
All right.
pulling those numbers together.
All right.
35-28 is what I came up with.
Right.
It does concern me that West Virginia's receivers are so much bigger than our corners. They've got a little bit
Isn't
of
everybody bigger than our corners, though?
they've got a little bit of the TCU situation where they have 2 really tall wide receivers that they have the ability to go up and get the ball on a 50-50, but they're not very good at it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
They should be better at being able to do that than they
They're just
are.
not executing that
But
well.
as we've seen, we're the type of team that gives up crap like that. And
Yeah.
if we do, then we could be in some serious trouble.
So did it factor in? We're doing this podcast from inside. Did it factor into your equation as you're doing all of your hieroglyphics here that it's raining in Norman 2 days before the game, and what our record is in Morgantown when it rains in Norman 2 days before the game? Or did any other completely
Nope.
stupid, irrelevant factors come into your logarithms that you were going through in your brain to come up with why you would think we would win the game because of the uniforms that we're wearing?
I go on the Deion Sanders motto of look good, feel good,
They don't
play
look good.
Yeah,
look
they don't look good. They
ridiculous.
look stupid.
The players,
They look so
stupid.
bad.
The
The players do
feel,
not think they look
no,
good.
the players love those jerseys. Don't get yourself.
They do not like.
Oh,
no
they
one in
love
their
them.
right mind likes the wood.
They want to bring the wood.
They
so
want to
hard.
bring the wood to the fire and burn it, and never ever look at the stupid
This is
wood
probably the
grain
last chance
again.
we're going to get at these jerseys.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Which
They're
I'm fine
so
with. I think
awful.
we're
I hope
about
they
3
I hope
years.
they bring them over here and let us burn them.
I think we're
in a
about 3 years
ritual
past
Yes.
ceremony.
replacing those jerseys.
Absolutely, no doubt about it. No, even love them, hate them, no matter
Yeah.
what. They have outworn their
Yeah,
welcome.
they're about 3 years
They're-
overdue
they're
on
dated.
switching out for something else.
Yes,
And they busted out the new home Unity anthracite.
right.
I just want some white Unity uniforms.
Yeah, I don't know why we can't have
I don't
something
know why
that
we
looks
can't
nice.
do
Why can't
some
we have
all
nice
white
things?
some all white Unities. I don't understand it. I don't understand it.
Well, I think that they were not just 3 years past. They were like all the years past because they're stupid. And the bring the wood, I swear to God, it's my contention that was a joke that they came up with on the spot, and the guys that they were presenting to liked it, and they went with it.
I love
It
the
makes
crimson
no
wood grain helmets.
sense.
It sounds like
The
something
crimson
you find
wood grain
on Pornhub.
helmets are
It
sick.
It
It
sounds
does.
very provocative.
We got some wood grain for you.
Yeah, I'm about to drop this
I'm
wood on
into
your
wood
face.
the
grain.
crimson
What
wood
are you
grain
into?
helmets
what do
are
you
awesome.
want?
It is
Awesome.
stupid.
It's
It's so
ridiculous.
bad and dumb. And what makes it
You sound like a
even-
bunch of olds.
What makes it dumber
No.
is to think that whether or not we wear them is going to impact how we play in the game.
I mean, the stats don't lie. 9-0.
They don't, do they? Yeah, they don't lie about that. Yeah. So we're playing in Morgantown. When's the last time we lost there? What's our record there? It's pretty good. I think it's just a guaranteed win. Let's go to Vegas and make some money.
I'm pretty sure before we started wearing those uniforms, we also were continually winning in Morgantown.
Yeah.
We've only not worn those uniforms once in Morgantown since they joined the conference. So
So
my
1-0,
stats line up.
100%.
So my stats line up better
I don't think
than
it works
yours.
that way. Yeah. I don't think nonsense works that way.
Anyway,
Well, that's the stupidest thing I think I've heard in several weeks.
we'll see how it turns out.
And we've had a lot of podcasts.
I hope we win by 20.
Well, I hope
Plus.
we do too. We all hope they do. Anything else about the outlook for OU going forward? Thinking about the rest of the season, we hear rumors that Sanders is going to play. Sanders is not going to play. That Bedlam game, I think, comes down a lot to if Spencer Sanders plays for Oklahoma State. I hope that he doesn't. In one sense, in another sense, I kind of hope he does, and we beat him with the best players on the field. But we kind of are in a position where we need every bit of help we can get right now with this team. So it's a little easier for me to say let's take our advantages when we can get him, and if somehow he doesn't play, which I could see him not playing just from the standpoint of their season's kind of over. I don't know where they stand in trying to get into the Big 12 championship, but they may be on the outside looking in, and he could look at it, especially if they lose to Iowa State this week, he could be looking at it saying, there's nothing for me to play for. I'm going to get ready for the draft. So I could see him from a rational standpoint deciding
But he
he's not
does have
gonna
another
play.
year eligibility.
He's got the COVID year.
Yep,
I-
he can come back next year.
He
believe it
could.
or not.
I don't know if he would.
I don't think he would, but it's crazy that
So
that's
I don't
an option.
know. But anyway,
Side note, how crazy is it? This is the first time we've been in Morgantown since Kyler.
Oh, that's right, because we
COVID year.
didn't do it in
Yep.
the COVID year.
It's been
See,
a while.
your stats are all off because we didn't have the
Oh, yeah.
COVID year. We don't know.
Well,
what
we
that
would have
would've
worn
been.
wood grain. We would have worn the bring the wood,
And
that
we would have
year,
won.
and we would have won. So
Probably.
we would be 10-0 in that uniform, and
I remember
or that
that
jersey
we
and
felt
4-0
confident, but at the same time, we were pretty glad that
We were
game
glad we
didn't
didn't
have
have
to
to play
happen.
that game.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd be fine if we didn't have to play this game.
Well, yeah, I don't know. We kind of need to get to bowl eligible. So looking out at the rest of the season, I'd like for us to be carrying some win momentum into the next ones, if you will. It's going to be really interesting to see how the rest of the Big 12 shakes out. who between Texas TCU this weekend, who is the leader, who are the two teams that are vying for, among others, that Big 12 championship. Unfortunately, it won't be OU. So let's turn now, because this is going to be relevant for at least one of our picks as we talk about the Big 12, for the locks of the week.
The realest deal, locks of the week.
All right, so we have a record right now that is, listen up, folks, you need to listen to this. So we've got at least one listener who I know actively bets the opposite of our picks. And
Are they in a state that allows that?
We are not in a state that allows that.
The listener's not in the state?
This listener is not in this state. This listener is an out-of-state listener.
Oh.
It's actually Mike from the prior podcast.
Okay, so he does have the ability to bet legally.
Right, to bet legally. And I'm thinking
He's
about
fading us.
And I can bet. You know, we can all find ways to bet. I'm thinking about fading us as well because of our record. But as a group, we are 57 and 63, 48%. That is below 500.
But that's not making money if you fade us, because that's only 52% on the other side.
You're right. See, Vegas wins either way with us.
Yes.
That sucks.
So if Mike faded us on every single game,
well, he only started a few
back
games in, so he actually might be down because I think we've gotten better, even though we're still negative. Well, Connor and I are tied. We're both 14 and 16, 47%. Lucas, you're right below us at 13 and 17, 43%. Jay is our sole above 500, trading water, 16 and 14, 53%. So he's basically just barely covering his juice on his locks of the week. But let's turn it around this week, because I felt pretty strong about this week. I think actually this is going to be the week.
I felt so not strong about this week.
This in my mind, this is when locks become true locks of the week. So I'm going to start with Jay's, because he's our leader and that's what everyone actually cares about. He's got LSU giving 3.5. Who are they playing? They're coming off the big game against Alabama. That's going to be a little difficult
playing
for
Arkansas.
them. They're playing Arkansas at Arkansas in Fayetteville. That's a weird line. I'm sure if Jay were here, he'd agree, and that's why he picked it. That's a strange line, to tell you the truth. That doesn't seem like enough points.
It's coming off the big Bama win.
That's got to be something.
Got to be let down.
That's got to be part of it.
The trap play
in Fayetteville too.
In Fayetteville, for what that's
they're not
worth.
very good.
I don't know what that's worth, though. Honestly.
Yeah, they're 5-4 this year. I mean, teams that are 5-4 really suck.
I would have picked Arkansas actually, so I don't know. Then the number 2 lock of the week for Jay is Iowa State giving 1.5 to the Cowboys. Going into Stillwater, he thinks they're basically going to win that game, maybe narrowly, maybe by a bunch, but he's given 1.5 points to the Cowboys. And then he's got Maryland getting 10.5. So who's Maryland play, guys? Help me out with that one.
They're playing Penn State.
Penn State.
In Happy Valley.
In Happy Valley. Boy, I don't know, Jay. I don't know if that's enough points. We'll see. My heart is sympathetic
Penn State's
to that.
not very good.
I don't think they're very good
Maryland
either. I actually think they've been kind of disappointing.
Maryland's 6-3. That's a surprising total to me.
That is a little bit surprising.
I mean, they're better than us.
Yeah. For now. So that's Jay's locks of the week. All right, now I'm going to transition into us losers. I've got Colorado getting 33.5 against USC.
Big shock.
I've got a very good record. I've picked them. I have to look back. I think I'm above 500 picking against USC. And last week was a winning pick. I should have picked California getting in all those points because they barely lost. Then I've also got Miami, Florida getting 1.5. And who do they play? I should have actually prepared for this, shouldn't I?
No, it's someone not good.
Georgia Tech.
Yes.
They play Georgia Tech, and
on the road.
The trap part of this for me is I don't really factor in the fact that Miami's quarterback is injured when I make these picks, and he is injured, so they don't know if he'll be back or not. So there's questions there. So I may be setting myself up for a problem. And then last pick for me, I've got Western Kentucky giving 12.5. And they play Rice, the Rice Owls. That's a food group. So I think that they're going to cover 12.5 points. Connor, who you got?
So, first pick I got is Cincinnati over East Carolina. Cincinnati getting, 4.5 in that game?
Giving 5.5.
Giving
right?
5.5. Sorry,
Right.
that's what I meant. Cincy getting 5.5. That's tomorrow night.
Giving.
I don't trust. I don't trust East Carolina for what they are. I think Cincinnati's quite a bit of a better team there. Next game I have is Pittsburgh -4.5 over Virginia. Again, Virginia's not very good. That line didn't make a ton of sense to me, but Pittsburgh's also, I think, 5-4 on the season. So nothing spectacular from their end. Next pick, I'm going to come to regret, I think. I just read some news on this one, but I got to ride with my boys, my Coastal Carolina, -11.5. I did just read their starting quarterback is out the rest of the season. So, not great, but Coastal Carolina -11.5 against Southern Miss. Hopefully the Chanticleers can pull one out of the hat for me. So, we'll see.
All
Lucas,
right, here's your
on to you.
2-1 locks of the week. I've got.
You guarantee a 2-1?
Yep.
You're just not telling us what the one is.
Yep. I've got SMU -17.5 at South Florida.
What?
What?
No, that's not the pics you sent me.
It's
You
not.
changing it up?
It's not.
So
what I
you
sent
actually sent me 4 different. You texted me pics, and then you on your sheet you identified 4. So is that one of the 4 that you're changing it up to? I'll allow it.
I don't think I switched anything up to you.
Let me see if I'm right.
I mean,
If
Are you
Lucas
gonna
changes one,
apologize?
I want to change my
I didn't-
Coastal one.
no, I didn't
I
change
want
anything.
to change
I
my
got.
Coastal pick.
All right, here's your text. Well, read me your others.
I've got my picture right here of my sheet, and I have 3 locks on it. I've got SMU -17.5 at South Florida. I've got
Keep looking at your sheets.
I've got Oregon -13.5 at home against Washington,
I agree with that.
and then I've got UCLA -19.5 at home against Arizona.
And keep looking at that sheet because you also have Illinois -6.5.
Illinois -6.5. I don't see that.
Well, keep looking and also look at this text that you sent
Oh
me.
yeah, I do see it. now.
Locks. Illinois, Oregon, UCLA, locks.
Ha!
So which is it? Is it Illinois or SMU?
It's SMU. I don't.
I want to change mine.
Yeah.
Well, we all want to change ours, but apparently Lucas, the rules don't apply to him.
Yeah, I guess I picked 4 locks.
So you're going with SMU -17.5.
Yep.
I want this. Here's how badly I want
I picked-
Illinois to cover now.
I picked 4 as well. I just forgot to send you my 4th.
Well, I'm picking 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of mine are provisional for
Yeah,
sure.
whichever one wins, that's the one I want.
Yeah. Well, all right.
No,
so
Coastal's gonna figure it out. They're gonna pull it off.
you think they're going to do it?
They're
This
gonna
is
do
the
it.
I
week?
do like Illinois -6.5.
Yeah. No. It's done.
We'll come back to
It's done.
the 3-1 then.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. Yeah. You want credit for the 3-1, the asterisk lock of the week.
Oh.
That doesn't sound very realist deal. Well, anything else to cover as we head into the week? We apologize. We're getting the pod out a day late. It meant that we don't have Jay and we do have Connor, but that's a trade sometimes you have to make. Unfortunately, we're not headed to Morgantown ourselves. We'd like to be. Maybe in a different world, we'll be making all the games once again.
Whereas when
But
this
probably
team's
never
worth
going to
spending money on.
Morgantown. Yeah, this one we're going to enjoy here at home.
Hopefully enjoy.
Hopefully enjoy. I'm feeling pretty confident. I don't know. We're a pretty big favorite. We have a right to be confident.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
I think things are moving in the right direction slowly
It
but
is.
surely.
It's fixable in my opinion.
It is. We're close, guys. We're close.
Well, the jerseys help fix some of it.
There you go. Look at that. A
Hey,
silver lining from the
wow,
realist.
Nice.
I like it.
Little silver lining. Well, on that silver lining, we're going to leave it there and until the post game against West Virginia. Boomer.
Sooner.